Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Americans want to know, where does their food come from? Parents want to know, before they give it to their children, how was this food raised? Where did it come from? Moms want to know, dads want to know, and today they can. But if proposed legislation passes this body this week, we won't have that information necessary to make those decisions for our family and our family's health. What legislation am I talking about? I'm talking about the country of origin labeling. In other words, right now, if you buy food and it comes from a foreign country, it must be labeled. If you buy pork, you buy beef, you buy chicken, wouldn't you want to know where that food came from? And why would you want to know? Well, different countries have different rules and different cultures. And if you remember back in 2007, we had some pet food that came from a foreign country that killed a lot of pets. It was enhanced with melamine to up the protein readings in it. And it was unsafe for pets, and a lot of pets died as a result. Well, it came from a different country that has different ethics. And I think Americans deserve to know who raised their food, which country did it come from. But the legislation that's in front of us this week will repeal that requirement to label beef, poultry, and pork. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we in such a rush? Because we've been told that the World Trade Organization requires it. What is the World Trade Organization, and who are they to tell Congress what laws we have to pass? These judges weren't appointed by the president. They weren't confirmed by the Senate. These are not judges from our Constitution. These are extra constitutional judges. Yet they're telling us here in Congress, you've got to do this, or there will be repercussions. I think our founding fathers would be appalled at this notion that we've given up our sovereignty. I don't accept the premise that we have to make laws here based on what some world court agrees to. But I suppose somebody made a trade agreement, some Congress previous, that bound us to decisions of this court. Now, even if you accept the premise that we have to abide by the World Trade Organization, and because they've ruled that we can no longer label pork and beef as from foreign countries to inform our consumers, then you've got to ask the question, why do we add chicken to this bill? The World Trade Organization is silent on the subject of chicken, yet it's in the bill. We're going to remove the labeling requirements for chicken. I think it's a bad idea. I think it's probably motivated by some large meat packing companies. But, you know, they're represented here in Congress, and the American consumer is not, and small livestock farmers are not. I proposed voluntary country of origin labeling last night in the Rules Committee. I had an amendment. I said, okay, maybe we shouldn't mandate, maybe we shouldn't force the foreigners to label their meat when it comes into the country. But how about voluntarily letting American producers put that proud stamp and know that it is the seal of approval that most consumers want, that that beef and that pork was raised in this country? I was shot down in the Rules Committee. It was just a voluntary program. In fact, it was proposed 10 years ago by this Speaker of the House, by the former chair of the Ag Committee, by the current chair of the Ag Committee, and by the current chair of the Rules Committee. Yet they wouldn't allow my amendment for a vote in the Rules Committee. All I sought to do is let American farmers proclaim that their beef is raised in the United States. And today, Mr. Speaker, that's why I'm here. I'm here today to say that we need to assert our sovereignty, the sovereignty of this body. We all took an oath to the Constitution. We didn't take an oath to the World Trade Organization. We need to assert our sovereignty, and we need to uphold our commitment to the Americans that sent us here. And I urge my colleagues to vote no on the repeal of country of labeling origin later today. Thank you, and I yield back.